Hello, my name is Derek Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to take a look at roots and radicals, so let's begin. Okay, so as you can see here, we have a blank screen, and what we're trying to do is, I'm going to start by giving you an example, and then I'm going to try to pull together the theory that's behind it afterwards. So let's say I have the following information. I have 3 squared, and we know that equals 9. Now, on a theoretical level, there's several things happening here. Often, different books have different methods of doing this, but the 3 represents the B, like the base or the root, if you will. The 2, let me give you a different color for this so that it stands out. So this is the B, the base or the root, whatever you want to call it. The 2 is kind of like the n, second power to the nth power to the third power, fourth power, whatever. And the 9 here is the A. I guess A kind of stands for the answer. And now what is happening here is that as I'm trying to build the connection between roots, radicals, and roots, is that B is the nth root of A. So now what does that mean? In this example that we just have here, we're basically saying that 3, because that's our B over here, is the second root of 9. Okay, what that basically means is that 3 times 3 is going to equal 9, or 3 squared. So, for example, if you want to find the third root, what you're looking for is this. You know you're raising it. You don't know what B is yet. You know you're raising it to the third power, and you know you want the answer to be 9. In other words, you have to find a number that if you multiply it by itself 3 times, it'll equal 9. And of course, I had the privilege of figuring this out beforehand. It's about 2.08. So if you raise that, if you raise that to the third power, you will get 9. So in other words, 2.08 is the third root of 9. In other words, that is the third number that you would use. In other words, it would take multiplying 2.08 3 times to still get the answer of 9. That's kind of how it works. Now, what is the first root of 9? Well, probably 9, because 9 times 1 is going to get you the answer. So to draw that out, I have a B here. I raise it to the first power. I want it to equal 9. Well, only a number raised to itself is going to equal that number. So in this case, B will equal 9. That's what's happening. So 9 is the first root of 9. That's kind of how it works out. And this is a very, very useful tool to understand as we move into radicals here on this next screen. So let's take what we know so far. We got 3 squared equals 9. Now the question is this. I already know the answer, but let's say I want to figure out, okay, 9. Let's see if we can find out what's happening here. Normally you don't put the 2 there because it's kind of assumed. But the 2 here represents something called the index when you're working with the radical here. All this is a radical, and the number inside the radical is called the radicand, and this is called the index. Now, what this is basically asking us is that what is the second, let's see here, what is the second root of n? In other words, what number can I multiply by itself, just the number by itself, so to get 9? Now, we already know the answer from the previous screen. We know that that's going to be 3. It's going to be 3 in this particular situation. That's what's happening here. Now, something that might be a little bit more trickier is if we do something like, let's see here. We have something more complicated. So, take a look at this one. One more thing I need to remember or explain is that when you raise something, when you're looking for the second root, it's talking about the square root. That's where that term comes from. And of course, if you have a 3 here, which is the one we're going to do next, this is the cube root. And so the question here is that what number can I multiply by itself 3 times to get this 64? So how do you do that? Well, an easy way to do that, we could have did it here, but it wasn't necessary because 9 is so easy to deal with, is you just you make a little tree and you can work it out. And the secret is this. When you find the same number 3 times, that's when you know you have the answer, because in this particular situation, I'm looking for the cube. I'm looking for the third root of 64. So let me show you how this works. So here we go, I got 64, and then I break it down. How you do it is up to you. So let's say I have 16 and 4, and then I break it down here, 4 and 4. course, I got to break down here 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Now let's see here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 twos. That's not going to work. But wait a minute here. I have 1, 2, 3 fours. So that tells me my answer. My answer here in this situation is going to be 4. In other words, if I take 4 to the third power, I will get 64. And let's just check that. You can see it right here. 4 times 4 is 16. Times 4 right here is going to give me up here to 64. So that's how it works. This is one way that you can deal with this. Let's do one more to make sure it's clear. So let's see here. Now I have 32 and 5. So 5 is my index, 32 is my radicand. And so what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the fifth root of 32. And so I break this down as follows. 32, break down my little tree here. 16 times 2, 4 times, I don't have enough space down here. Let me scoot up a little bit. So change the color also might help you a little bit. So I'm going to start over here, 32. So I have 16 and 2. And then I have 4 and 4. Then I have 2, 2, 2, 2. So let's see here. Let me change the color again. Let me see here. So I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know my answer is going to be 2 to the 5th power. Because this is where I have my 5 twos. I need whatever the number is that has to equal the index basically. So I have 5 twos, it'll be 2 to the 5th power. So in other words, the 5th root of 32 is going to be 2. That's what's happening there. And that you can see kind of how that works out there. And so, you can have a lot of fun dealing with these radicands and radicals and indexes. But let's see if we can kind of recap what we did here. And I want to make sure that you can see the relationship between roots and radicals. So we started here by taking a look at, what are roots, what is a root basically. And we started with this 3 squared equals 9. And so in this particular situation, the number 3 is the second root of 9. That's what's happening here. In other words, if you multiply 3 times 3, you will get this answer right here, 9. Now, again, I extended it, and I said, okay, well then what is the third root of 9? And so in other words, what is the number that I have to multiply by itself 3 times and still get the answer of 9? And in this situation is going to be 2.08. I figured it out off the screen. Okay, moving on. And then we switched over into talking about the radicals. So the radical is like this guy right here. You have that little funky sign right there, and the number inside is the radicand, the number on the outside is the index. When the index is 2, we normally do not put it. However, when the index is any other number, you have to put it there because people have to do different things. So to make this clear, what we're looking for here is we're looking for what is the second root of 9. In other words, what is the number that we can multiply by itself to get the number of 9? And you can see right here that the answer is 3. And in this example right here, we're looking for the third root of 64, or the cube root, if you will. In other words, what number do we multiply by itself 3 times to get 64? That's the question. And I showed you one way to find the answer without a calculator by making a factor tree. This will work for smaller numbers, but we have to use other strategies in the future. And so what you're looking for here is you're looking for that same number that appears 3 times. And so in our example here, 4, 4, and 4 appears 3 times. And so you know that if you take 4, raise it to the third power, you will get 64, and that is the answer. And we did one more example right here where we had 5. So what is the 5th root of 32? Well, we know that it's going to be 2. That's what it's going to be. And if you take 2 to the 5th, you'll get 32. And you can work that out on your own time. So it's a little complicated trying to keep the relationship between roots and radicals clear, but we're taking that first step as we begin our journey on this, and I hope that the information provided here was helpful and useful for you. So my name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you for watching. Take care.